So we're building a video startup at Detail, and as part of my day-to-day job, of course I need to create a lot of video. Over the past few weeks, I started producing quite a bit of YouTube videos where I explain about our product, different types of tools we use, and how you can connect cameras. I got quite a few questions about how we actually dialed our setup in the studio, and mostly about this fancy background behind me. So let me run you through our setup in the studio and how we dialed the setup for Detail so I can just sit down, hit record, and produce video together with our team. So in our office in Amsterdam, we built our own studio where we can just create different types of setups for different types of videos. We also invite other creators to shoot video at our location. This way we can get a look behind the scenes and can actually learn more about their workflow and how we can optimize this in software using Detail. In my particular case, because I'm recording quite a bit of video in a busy schedule, we tried to make this setup as turnkey as possible. So the idea is I should just be able to sit down with an idea for a video, a short script, plug in my laptop and hit record. So the idea is that we try to keep everything in place. So typically when I just come into the office and I sit down behind this desk, I can just hit record and start shooting video right away. For me personally, that's super important because I typically try to squeeze in a few videos in a busy day. It makes it so much easier for me if I can just sit down and start recording. So let's start with the equipment. So what I typically use is a MacBook Pro. So I have a MacBook Pro 14-inch. The reason why I like the device is because it just has one extra port. It has insane superpowers, but the actual performance of the M1 Max in general is just really good. With Detail, we support the M1 and up. So whether you use a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, or any of the newer devices, you should be fine. So if I record demos for Detail, I typically connect multiple devices, and it's nice to have plenty of ports to use when I connect an iPhone, a different camera, experiment with different capture cards, or want to hook up a microphone. So the Thunderbolt hub is basically on the desk. I plug it into my MacBook, single cable, and I have all the other devices connected as well. Then on top of that, if I want to experiment with more cameras, like in this particular case with a behind the scenes look, I need a few more extra ports. So now I'm using a Sidecom USB-C hub. There was actually a video that I made about different ways to connect your iPhone or multiple iPhones to your Mac, and that has all these devices explained as well. So I have two little hubs connected to my Mac, and again, all of this is just to optimize for plug and play. There are 3 ports on my Mac, so typically for most videos that I would be recording, that would be enough. But it's nice to have a few extra ports and not have to plug in everything all the time. So I can just sit down, plug it in, I'm done. Then as a microphone, I'm using a Rode VideoMic Go USB. So the Rode VideoMic Go 2 actually supports USB. The reason why I like that is because it's powered over USB-C. It shows up as an audio device in Detail or on my Mac. So I can use it for conference calls, I can use it directly in Detail, and it has really solid sound quality. So there's a lot of air conditioning blowing now because it's incredibly hot in Amsterdam. So I actually hope that the sound quality is as good as it should be. Typically the room is really quiet here and we don't need much air conditioning. Another thing that's really nice about this microphone is that it's about $100. That sounds pretty expensive, but generally audio is just super important for the video. If you combine good audio with great picture quality, I think a microphone is worth the investment. There are plenty of other alternatives or different types of setups with a microphone on your desk, but I actually like the clean look of it, and because I'm using my hands all the time, it's nice to have just a clean picture. The microphone is actually mounted just above my desk, so it's a fixed mount that goes to the ceiling, and within the space that we designed, we made a few rails on the ceiling that we can use to hook up lights or to hang on different things. On the same mount, I actually used a different clamp to get a top-down view of the desk. So typically for a lot of different types of demos, if I would be using, for example, keyboard shortcuts, or if I'm showing a product, it's really nice to have that top-down view. You can get that top-down view with either a stand that hovers over your desk or by attaching something to the ceiling. Because we have these rails on the ceiling, it's really easy to get that top-down view with a clamp. And the microphone is attached to the very same clamp. So I have a very compact setup hovering just above my desk, outside of the standard frame that we have when I'm shooting. And the microphone should be close enough to pick up good sound. If you use a shotgun mic, it's actually important to get it relatively close. So you try to get it as close to you as possible, because otherwise it would be picking up all kinds of different sounds and you have to bump up the volume. So you're looking for a way to actually mount it just outside of the frame. Typically when I'm demoing the product, I'm running two versions of detail. One of the versions is running on my MacBook, which is actually doing the recording. So the different camera angles and the screen recording and the app itself. And we can use that to edit the footage. And then there's a second instance of detail running on an external screen. So I have an external screen connected to my MacBook, again over USB-C through the same Thunderbolt hub. And the reason why I like to have that external screen to do my demos is that we can record the entire screen. So that screen is running a resolution of 9020 by 1080. It's the same resolution that comes out of the camera. So it's super nice to mix that into the footage. And I also know whatever happens on that screen is actually being recorded. So if I want to show different types of applications, if I want to demo Finder, if I want to show right clicks with contextual menus, everything is recorded and I don't have to worry about what's visible or not. One little trick when you record an external screen, you can actually hide the status bar and the dock, which gives a very clean look when you make a screen recording. So typically all the applications are not visible when I'm recording, and I just know whatever happens on the screen is what we can edit into the footage after the fact. We use generic USB-C to Lightning cables of about 3 meters, which enables us to cover quite a bit of distance through the studio. Whether we're recording like a podcast type setup or get this top-down view, having a longer cable is really convenient. When you connect your phone over USB, so if you connect your phone with a USB to Lightning cable, the quality of recording in detail will increase because we can use a higher bit rate. So almost all the recordings that we make in our studio are with devices connected over USB. Sometimes we use a wireless device and mix in a third angle. Our Wi-Fi in the studio is very stable, but even then the quality of that angle is way less than if you would be connecting it over USB. So we only pick Wi-Fi if we need the flexibility. Whenever we have the opportunity to connect, we just do it over USB. So same goes for HDMI cables. We use generic long HDMI cables. The benefit of using a capture card in combination with HDMI, if your camera supports clean HDMI, you can actually connect your camera with a capture card as well. For most cameras, this is actually the best way to connect. I made another video about how you can connect any camera to your Mac. A capture card is a really good option for most devices. It gives a very stable signal, and there are actually very affordable capture cards that will cost you about 20 bucks. Most cameras that are sold recently support a clean HDMI out, so that's a very easy way to connect your camera to your Mac. So now let's get to the actual question that I got, is how do we make the backdrop here? So what you're looking at is actually just a piece of paper. So behind me is a piece of paper, and a piece of paper is being lit with a blue tube. So there's just a blue light between me and the backdrop, and that light actually just shines around me. There are two other big light sources that we use to light this scene. So there's one softbox hovering above the table. So we picked the largest softbox that we could find that fits this table to get a really nice main light source. Then there's another key light on the right of me that actually gives me like the front light, because otherwise you would see the shades of this softbox in my face as well. Because of these two big light sources and the backlight behind me, we create a really nice separation between me and the background. The beauty of this setup is that you can easily change the color of the LED tube as well. And because it's paper, we can actually open the entire scene as well. So let me show you. So very different setup. Because I set my camera to manual white balance, I can easily change the colors of this tube without actually impacting the image too much. I like the blue because it fits our brand, but it also creates a nice contrast between me and the backdrop. So let me also open up the studio so you can see what's behind this. So when I roll up the paper, we actually shoot straight into the podcast studio. We made a video about our podcasting setup that you can watch if you want to learn more about how we build an entire podcast setup with detail as well. But this creates a completely different picture. I actually like this picture because there's a lot of depth in this scene. So when we're shooting like this, we typically try to create some accent lights in the background as well. So we have a few more LED tubes and Philips Hue lights that we can use in different color schemes to create a nice depth of field. So the beauty of using a paper backdrop is that you have full control over your background. So you don't have to clean up the mess behind you. You can just sit down and shoot and everything is covered. For our specific videos, we typically pick the gray backdrops. So we really like these gray backdrops because they give a neutral picture if you don't use any lights. And at the same time, they absorb more than enough color to make your image spark. Because we're making video software, every single time that I'm hitting record, I'm actually learning more about our product and about our use cases. So it's been super fun to actually optimize the setup and make it a little bit better every single time. I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough, and be sure to subscribe to our channel if you want to get more of these tips. And check out our Discord community at detail.co/discord if you want to learn more about video creation and the types of things that we're building with Detail. Thanks for watching.